artists and art enthusiasts. This is Cedric from Art on Main with another lockdown video. As of this recording, the lockdown has been extended by another 2 weeks, so I thought I'd share with you something that you can do inside your house, obviously. This is 5 tips for a better studio. Tip number 1, surround yourself with inspiration. That good artists create and great artists steal. We all have artists that we wish to emulate, whose works inspire us. We all have artworks, paintings, sculptures, or just images and photographs that guide us, that inspire us, that make us want to be better artists. These can be found in books and magazines or on the internet. We might keep a little catalog on Pinterest or elsewhere. Unfortunately, out of sight is out of mind. If it's in a book or online or even in a magazine and it's not in your studio space, it's not going to deliver that little boost of inspiration, that little jolt of guidance. That's why it's important to try and find ways of surrounding yourself in your studio space with images that guide and inspire you. If you're able, print them out. But I understand that not everybody has access to a printer. In better times, take those images that you like, put them on a flash drives and take them through to a local library or a postnet and make some copies. Or even better, do some drawings based on those images in your books, in your magazines, and let the images stand side by side. The idea is to create a little space in your studio that you can constantly refer to as a goal to where you want to get to. Tip number 2, lighting, lighting, lighting. Of all the factors that are going to influence your artwork, lighting is probably the most important. And here, consistency is the key. What you don't want is to be in a space where the light changes all that often. You want to keep your light consistent so that your colors don't change, so that your tones are the same in the morning and the evening. Now, of course, if you can afford it or you have them available, use spotlights or use some of the household lights that you can move around. Now, if you don't have spotlights and you don't have electricity or you don't have light bulbs or you don't have lamps that you can move around, don't despair. One of my favorite artists in the history of the world, Rembrandt van Rijn, painted almost exclusively by candlelight. Importantly, the light should not shine directly onto your work. That's going to cause reflections and that's going to make it harder to gauge your tones and work with that space. What you want to work towards is ambient lighting, bounce light off the wall. Tip number 3, treat your space as a professional space. The place where you work is your office. It is your church. It is the most important place for you at that particular time. Now, you might not have a studio. You might be only able to draw in your bedroom or in the kitchen or in the dining room. It doesn't matter. When you approach it, just don't just plonk yourself down and just start drawing and painting. Take the time to set up that space, to create a professional space as though this was your job. You'd be surprised what a difference treating your space like a workspace will change the way you approach your artworks. If you treat your art space, your art creating space like a throwaway, unworthy hobby, chances are you're going to create artworks that are throwaway and unworthy. Not always, but it does influence it. So take the time to lay out your pencils, to lay out your sharpeners, get your coffee ready, get your space organized. Make sure that everything around you is exactly what you need it to be. Are your pencils there, your razors, are your colors arranged so your greens are together, your reds are together, your paintbrushes are there, your mixes? Spend a few minutes to just organize your space before just diving in. Nothing is going to break your flow faster than just, oh no, I need my eraser. Where did I put it? And you go and spend 10-15 minutes looking around for it. Tip number 3, create a space where you can step back and relax. The number one mistake I see whenever I'm teaching drawing or painting is people don't take nearly enough time to step back from their artworks. That step back is both physical and mental. If you can, if you're fortunate enough to have spare furniture, set a chair far away from your works, from which you can sit down, maybe have a cup of coffee, and just have a look at your works. Really critically analyze it from a distance. If you can't do that, then make sure that you have a place where you can set your artworks and take a step back. If you can't do that in a corridor, a bathroom, just change the scenery just a little bit. But importantly, make sure that you can mentally take a break from your work. Plugging away for hours on end is only worthwhile as long as your mind is on the big picture. Pun intended. So what you want to do is take regular breaks. If you can't do that, if you're like me and just dive in and then forget about where you are, set yourself a timer. It's what I do. Every 20 minutes my timer goes off, and then I make a decision right there and then to either plug in another 20 minutes of drawing or take a break. Come back. Fresh eyes will do wonders for the development of your artwork. Tip number 4. Have an area where you can make mistakes. Another big mistake I see is people go and buy great quality paper or fantastic canvases, go back to their studios and immediately dive in without due consideration of their composition, their techniques, and their approaches. That's why it's so important to have a place where you can make mistakes. Have scrap paper, new materials, old materials there. You don't know how to paint a tree? Don't just dive into your canvas and figure it out on the fly. Spend some time practicing, working things out. When you have a space that is dedicated to making mistakes, to discovering new techniques, of just messing around, you're freeing yourself to be truly creative in your actual artworks. If you're lucky enough to have multiple canvases or some scrap papers, even some old paintings and some old drawings, this is a perfect test bed for your new techniques, for your new approaches. Now's the time to be creative, to mess around. You're not going to be able to show anybody your work for weeks to come anyway. Don't be so focused and driven on the final product. Realize that making mistakes in the process is as much part of art as anything else. And you need a space in your studio to do that. Again, it doesn't have to be a physical space. I'm talking about a mental space. If you decide that you're going to spend the next half an hour, 15 minutes, or however long just making a mess and trying out this new color or this new technique, or what happens if you mix these two solvents together, allow yourself that time to just explore. Tip number 5. It's a studio, not a gallery. Your studio space should be focused on process, on creating, not showing, not exhibiting. If those two get confused, there is a chance that you will constantly be creating with the idea that somebody might be looking over your shoulder, might be evaluating your process as though they were a final product. Keep them separated, and they will give you the freedom and the space to explore and make a mess. I hope these 5 tips helped you, and that we'll see you at the shop when this is all over. Remember to stay indoors, stay at home, stay safe, and keep on creating.